There's a welcome screen on there. Right, give me a moment to get it started as a slideshow.
Here we go.
I think she muted us. Your line on your
There we go. All right, so
on your microphone.
the theme of tonight's service, and if everybody could please mute when you're not speaking, and that way we'll be able to hear everybody. The theme of tonight's service came into existence in late 2019, early 2020, in the before times. Elaine Kellett came to me with an idea for a women's service that she had seen at her son's synagogue in Atlanta. And it was a service in honor of the 100th anniversary of the women's right to vote. And they did that by honoring famous Jewish women. She brought me a copy of the service, and things were kind of crazy for me then, and I lost it. So when I realized I couldn't find it, I got the address of the synagogue from her and I wrote to them. But by then COVID had hit and apparently no one was in their office. So I never heard back from them. And then COVID got much worse and it wasn't clear that we'd even be able to hold a women's service in 2020. So we kind of put it to the side. We thought maybe we could do an outdoor service in the summer, but then of course, things still weren't great in the summer. So, and we could never figure out, how we would handle calling different people to the microphone when we weren't supposed to be sharing germs and everything. So it didn't happen. And since it takes quite a bit of planning to put together one of these services, we ultimately made the decision to postpone. And by now we've all become experts at Zoom, and we decided to go forward with the service that we began planning almost 2 years ago. Since we no longer had the script that I lost, Elaine and I decided to work together and create our own service honoring Jewish women. This is the first time I've worked with a partner to create the service, and I'd like to thank Elaine for bringing us the idea and for working so hard to help me bring it to fruition. The biggest surprise that we had when we started putting the service together and looking at the women that we might be able to talk about is how many women Jewish women there are who have made important contributions to society. We had a really hard time narrowing down the list. And that's partly why you've been getting some of the emails about Jewish women, because those are all women that we could not include in tonight's service. Tonight, we've decided to focus on 8 Jewish women. And with the exception of one biblical story, they're all American women. Although Cantor Frank couldn't be here tonight, she's out of town. We would like to thank her for generously sharing her slides from the Shabbat service, which you'll see scattered throughout this service. Because telling the stories of the women has made the service, we think, quite a bit longer, the service part, the typical service will be kind of abbreviated. And in lieu of a Devar Torah, we give you these 8 Jewish women scattered throughout the service. We had a lot of fun assembling these biographies, and we hope you enjoy them. So tonight we bring you the Women of Shir Shalom Shabbat service in belated celebration of the 19th Amendment, which was passed by Congress on June 4th, 1919, and ratified on August 18th, 1920. So we're only a little late. And also, as I said, please keep muted when you're not singing or speaking. And next we go to Joanne for the candle blessing and the blessing over the wine.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Sorry, I burned my finger. I need one more moment. I just need to get a Kiddush cup. I apologize. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'shabbat kadsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila l'mikrae kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim B'Shabbat kadshocho b'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
Now they can hear us.
Oh, I don't want them to.
You don't want them to? Oh, muted.
Most of the stories we will tell tonight are about Jewish American women, but we thought it appropriate to start Shabbat with a biblical story. The daughters of Zelophehad were 5 sisters named Mala, Noah, Hagla, Milcah, and Tirzah, who came to Moses with a concern over how the promised land was to be divided in relation to their family. God had given the Israelites instructions to divide up the land among the clans based on the census of men. The daughters of Zelophehad came to the door of the tent of meeting, where judgments were issued, to talk to Moses, Eleazar, the leaders, and the congregation. Their father had died in the wilderness, and he had no sons. With no father and no brothers to inherit a portion of the land, the daughters of Zelophehad would be left destitute. The daughters proposed to Moses that they would be allowed to inherit their father's portion of the land. They asked, "Why should our father's name disappear from his clan because he had no son? Give us our property among our father's relatives." Since the situation was unprecedented, Moses asked God for direction. God's response was, "What Zelophehad's daughters are saying is just. You must certainly give them property as an inheritance among their father's relatives and give their father's inheritance to them." In other words, God ruled in favor of the daughters. They could inherit their father's portion of the land as a way to provide for themselves and preserve the memory of their father.
The case of Zelophehad's daughters set a precedent and expanded the legal rights of women in biblical times. Due to the ruling regarding the daughters of Zelophehad, women were included in the list of eligible heirs of property. The following became the inheritance order: son, daughter, brother, paternal uncle, and nearest clan kin. Property was not to be transferred outside of one's tribe. Zelophehad's daughters were important not only because they changed the laws of inheritance, but because they saw something unfair and spoke up to their leaders. This is one of the only examples of women in the Torah being given names and speaking up to correct something that was unjust. The sages further interpret this to mean that God has mercy equally for men and for women. Therefore, if women suffer from an unjust law, it is not God's will, but rather a result of the solidarity of men against women.
Please sing along at home. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine ma tohu manayim, shevet ahim gam yahad.
Janet Louise Yellen was born in August 13, 1946 in Brooklyn. She was the first woman to hold each of the posts of the American Economist and chair of the board of the governors of the Federal Reserve System, the Fed, the Central Bank of the United States, from 2014 to 2018. And now, in 2021, she is the Secretary of the United States Department of the Treasury. The Federal Reserve has broad supervisory and regulatory authority over the state charter banks and bank holding companies, as well as foreign banks operating in the United States. Through the CFPB, it is also involved in maintaining the credit rights of the consumers.
On January 26, 2021, Janet Yellen was sworn in as the 78th Secretary of the Treasury of the United States. An economist by training, she took office after almost 50 years in academia and public service. She is the first person in American history to have led the White House Council of Economic Advisors, the Federal Reserve, and the Treasury Department. Janet Louise Yellen was born in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn in 1946. Her mother, Anna Ruth, was an elementary school teacher while her father, Julius, worked as a family physician. In 1967, Secretary Yellen graduated from Brown University and went on to earn her PhD at Yale. She was an assistant professor at Harvard until 1976, when she began working at the Federal Reserve Board. There in the Fed's cafeteria, she met fellow economist George Akerlof. Janet and George would marry later that year. They would go on to have a son, Robert, now also an economics professor.
Sheila?
Okay. Lecha doti likrat kala, tene Shabbat nikabela. Lecha doti likrat kala, tene Shabbat nikabela. Lecha doti likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabela, shamar v'sachar b'tivro echad, ishmianu el hamiuchad, Adono echad, u'shamo echad. Leshem u'tiferet berititila, lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'tzimcha v'tzohala, tov shamune am sigula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabela, lecha dodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nikabela.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born in Brooklyn in 1933. Her mother, Celia, was born to immigrant parents from Austria. Her father, Nathan, immigrated from Russia. In the summers, teenage Ruth attended Camp Chenewa in the Adirondacks, where she was unofficially called her camp's junior rabbi and would lead Shabbat prayers. She married Martin Ginsburg in 1954. She received her undergraduate degree from Cornell University and attended Harvard Law School, where she made law review in 1957. She then transferred to Columbia Law School in order to keep the family together when her husband accepted a job in New York. She tied for first in her class at graduation, yet she was not offered a job at any of the places she applied. She was recommended for a clerkship with Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter, but Frankfurter responded that he wasn't ready to hire a woman and asked RBG's professor to recommend a man. In spite of the barriers she encountered, she served in many important legal positions, including clerking for federal judges, serving as a judge herself in the Southern District of New York, directing the Columbia Law School Project on International Procedure, and teaching law at Rutgers University School of Law and Columbia Law School. While teaching at Rutgers, she found out that the male instructors were paid more than the women and led a campaign for equal wages.
In part, because of her personal experiences with discrimination, she began to handle sex discrimination claims for the New Jersey affiliate of the American Civil Liberties Union and argued her first case before the Supreme Court on a sex discrimination claim. In 1971, she co-founded the Women's Rights Project of the ACLU and served as the ACLU's general counsel. She was appointed a judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit in 1980. President Clinton nominated her as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, and she took her seat August 10th, 1993. Justice Ginsburg died on September 18th, 2020. As Ginsburg would note in speeches, she was the only justice with a mezuzah affixed to her office door. A poster on the wall read, Zedek, Zedek Tidof, the Hebrew call to action from the Torah meaning, justice, justice shall you pursue.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Liolam Va'ed.
Betty Friedan. With her book, The Feminine Mystique in 1963, Betty Friedan, who lived from 1921 to 2006, broke new ground by exploring the idea of women finding personal fulfillment outside of their traditional roles. She also helped advance the women's rights movement as one of the founders of the National Organization for Women, NOW. She advocated for an increased role for women in the political process and is remembered as a pioneer of feminism and the women's rights movements. The book, The Feminine Mystique, became a sensation, creating a social revolution by dispelling the myth that all women wanted to be happy homemakers. Friedan encouraged women to seek new opportunities for themselves. As an icon in the women's rights movement, Betty Friedan did more than write about confining gender stereotypes. She became a force for change. Friedan also fought for abortion rights by establishing the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws, now known as NARAL, Pro-Choice America, in 1969. She wanted women to have a greater role in the political process. With such other leading feminists as Gloria Steinem and Bella Abzug, Friedan helped create the National Women's Political Caucus in 1971.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'v'kol nefshecha u'v'kol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher onochi mitzvah.
I don't want help.
Ayon al levavecha, v'shinatam levanecha, v'dibartam bam, v'shitecha bevetecha, u'lechtecha v'derek, u'v'shokbecha, u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, Ve'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'ktaftam amizazot betecha u'visharecha leman tiskiru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohehem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeti Echem Meretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Joyce and Maureen, you need to unmute now.
Okay, she's unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, did we hear the beginning of it?
We'll start over.
Judith Kaplan, 1909 to 1996, was the daughter of Mordecai Kaplan, the founder of Reconstructionist Judaism. She is best known for having had the first public bat mitzvah in history on March 18, 1922. The concept of bat mitzvah was created to address Judaism's gender imbalance. Judith was precocious, both intelligently and musically. She learned to read at age 2.5 and began studying Hebrew at age 3. Between the ages of 7 and 18, she studied at the Institute of Musical Art, now the Juilliard School in New York.
At her bat mitzvah, Judith recited the plenary blessing, read part of the week's Torah portion in Hebrew and English, and then chanted the closing blessing. Her bat mitzvah was the first time that a woman led a congregation. As such, it represents a significant shift for Judaism in the U.S. Until this time, women did not engage in public reading of the Torah, and a Jewish girl's transition from child to adult was not reflected in synagogue ceremonies. Reflecting on the ceremony, many years later, she said, "No thunder sounded, no lightning struck. It all passed very peacefully. Bat mitzvah ceremonies are not commonplace with the conservative, Reform, and Reconstructionist branches of Judaism. During her life, she was author, theologian, musicologist, and composer. She attended the Jewish Theology Seminary, Teachers Institute, and Columbia University Teachers College. She taught music pedagogy at the History of Jewish Music at Jewish Theology Seminary, where teaching and performing materials did not exist. She created them. Her publications included the first Jewish songbook for children, as well as 5 cantatas on Jewish themes, written with her husband Ira, and 2 song cycles. In 1987, she created the broadcast, a 13-hour series on the history of Jewish music. She also taught at the Hebrew Union College and the Reconstructionist Rabbinic College. At the age of 82, Kaplan had a second bat mitzvah. Various feminists and Jewish leaders, including Betty Friedan, Liddy Cotton, Pogrom, Ruth W. Messinger, and Elizabeth Holtzman were present. Judy Kaplan Eisenstein began her adult life as an important figure in Jewish history, talented and supplied literature in both Jewish and musical tradition. She expanded the understanding, enjoyment, and decimation of the music of the Jewish people.
Okay, so now we're gonna do a brief silent Amidah. You can do the traditional prayers or the prayers of your heart, standing or sitting, whatever you feel most comfortable. And then we'll continue on with the service. Well, it's hard on the little tiny people on the side to tell if people are finished. But we're gonna next do the Misha Berach, and Rabbi Alex has the list. So he'll read the list and then Sharon is gonna chant it.
All right, such a beautiful service, thank you. We're thinking about Michael Berwick, Karen Cooper, Arthur Giselke, Faggy Fox, Irene Green, Jeff Hamilton, Nancy Hersbrunn, Sue Hill, Howard Hilfstein, Ruth Lansing, Diane Lynch, Jennifer Milich, Karen Place, Mary Rumez, Jason Shaw, Michael Citron, Meg Wagner, Carol Wilson, Fred Weiner, Elizabeth Gizzy Yeager, and Hannah Ezra Ben Shuel. If there's other names, feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah, I see a couple other names in the chat. We have, whoops, Sophie Bach, Bobby Millman, John Moriarty, Roy Post, Stacy DeBruin, Rachel Dunn, and Kira.
And Beatrice Schwartz.
Sharon. Oops, Sharon Krebs. Oh, I just saw her. Sharon, I think you need to unmute.
Okay, sorry about that. We'll take it from the top. Mishabera avotenu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishabera imotenu makor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Carol, please unmute.
Okay, I did. Hedy Lamarr, born Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler, September or November 9, 1914, until January 19th, 2000, she lived. We know her best as an Austrian-born American actress and film producer. But did you know her accomplishments as an inventor? She co-invented an early version of frequency hopping spread spectrum communication, originally intended for torpedo guidance. At the beginning of World War II, Lamarr and composer George Antheil developed a radio guidance system using frequency hopping spread spectrum technology for Allied torpedoes, intended to defeat the threat of jamming by the Axis powers. She also helped improve aircraft aerodynamics for Howard Hughes while they dated during the war. Various spread spectrum techniques are incorporated into Bluetooth technology and are similar to methods used in legacy versions of Wi-Fi. Recognition of the value of their work resulted in the pair being posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2014.
She said that she knew a good deal about munitions and various secret weapons, and that she was thinking seriously of quitting MGM and going to Washington, D.C. to offer her services to the newly established National Inventors Council. In 1997, Lamarr was the first woman to receive the Invention Convention's Bobby Gnass Spirit of Achievement Award, known as the Oscars of Inventing. In 2014, Lamarr and Antheil were posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame for frequency hopping spread spectrum technology. Asteroid 32-730-300, Lamarr, discovered by Karl Reinmuth at Heidelberg Observatory in 1951, was named in her memory. On November 6, 2020, a satellite named after her, NUSAT-14, or HEDI, COSPAR 2020-079F, was launched into space.
Aleinu l'shabbeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer reshit, shelo asanu kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpahot hadama, shelo sam halkenu gaya, vigor aleinu kahol hamonam, vanachnu Korim umishtahavim umodi lifnei melech malhei hamlahim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai Echad. Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad.
Mayim Bialik is a talented actress, author, blogger, and neuroscientist. Her family were Jewish immigrants who lived in the Bronx. Born in 1975, she was raised as a Reform Jew, but considers herself modern Orthodox and a staunch Zionist. Mayim Bialik has had many movie and television roles, but is probably best known for her roles as Blossom from 1990 to 1995, and as Amy Farrah Fowler on The Big Bang Theory from 2010 to 2019. For her role as Fowler, Bialik was nominated 4 times for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, and won the Critics' Choice Television Award for Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series in 2015 and 2016.
Judy Bardock, unmute, please.
Did I hear you right?
Yes, it's your turn, Judy.
Oh. Mayim Bialik earned her PhD in neuroscience from UCLA in 2007 with a dissertation about Prader-Willi syndrome. However, in 2010, she decided to return to acting to allow her a more regular schedule at home with her sons, now aged 15 and 12. She has written 2 books, one on attachment parenting and one with vegan recipes. She frequently posts fun short videos explaining Jewish culture and traditions on social media. She founded Grok Nation in August 2015 for people of different ages and backgrounds to have conversations on contemporary issues. It aimed to engage readers in online conversations that lead to offline action, mobilizing individuals toward changing the world as a community.
And I'm going to ask Rabbi Alex to read our yard site list, please. We don't usually let men talk during these things, but he offered to help out.
Oh, no, I think during this one little bit, sometimes they give me. We're remembering Dr. Sidney Anthone, Richard M. Brummer, Minette Epter, Sandra Friedferdig, Marvin Gerlich, Charles Lefcourt, and Vladimir Nadin, all who died in the last month. And our yard site list from years past, we remember Florence Antonoff, Robert Baker, Molly Bernhardt, Hyman Brody, Alter Shalom Brown, Irving Brutman, Louis Bush, Joseph Deutsch, Trudy Elwood, Jacob Erlin, Arnold Z. Edelson, Haya Farhi, Gussie Feld, Lance Alden Fertig, Ruben Gabriel, Janet Glasser, Delutzla Gutman, Robert Hirsch, Helene Levine Horwitz, Blanche Joseph, Milton Canner, Philip Corin, Albert Kroll, Claire Larkey, Alois Lemansky, Barry Lipsitz, Ida Mackler, Clara Newman, Irving Nusanov, Sidell Perlman, Morris Rakin, Betty Reisman, Harold Rosenthal, Rhoda Claire Shepard, William Slonim, Lillian Cohn Snyder, Sophie Trigger, George Weintraub, Edward W. Wolf Jr., Warren Zandler, and Maury Zeldis.
And those whose custom it is to rise for the mourner's Kaddish, please rise, and I'll lead that. Yikadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yurte v'amlich malchute. B'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom biramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. I'm going to ask Joanne to present the announcements.
So in honor of our president, Bruce Corris, who is out of town, I have the privilege of reading the announcements. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. A very special thank you to the women of Shir Shalom and Jill Hamilton and Elaine Kellick for a beautiful service in honor of Shabbat. We truly appreciate your dedication in having this very special annual Erev Shabbat service during the pandemic. We would also like to thank the women of Shir Shalom for providing the lovely and delicious Oneg to-go boxes for anyone that requested one. What a nice touch to end the evening. Our Saturday virtual offerings include Torah study at 9 and then Shabbat morning service at 11, followed by the virtual Kiddush luncheon. Both events are via Zoom. Please go to our website for the links. Special thank you to Ganila Kester for bringing the Buffalo Corner reading series to us last night. It was a thought-provoking evening. Mark your calendars for the next event on Thursday, June 17th at 7 p.m. Next Friday, we will have our Park and Pray Erev Shabbat service at 7 p.m. in the parking lot, weather permitting. There is an exciting synagogue Jewish heritage cruise in Europe being planned for the summer of 2022 through the AAA. If you are interested in information, please contact the temple office or Robin Raphael or Al Gellin. There is a discount if booked by May 31st of 21, and cabins are filling up very quickly. Our next Shabbat is on Tuesday, May 25th, from 4 to 7 p.m. or until sold out. Visit our website to place pre-orders and save $1 per meal. The JCC is organizing a speaker for this Tuesday at noon via Zoom. The speaker's name is Bassem, and he's a Palestinian human rights activist known for speaking up against Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. Please visit jccbuffalo.org for more information. Save the date. Our annual congregational meeting will take place on Wednesday, May 26th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, this coming Wednesday. Don't miss this chance to get an annual update and celebrate our President's Awards winners. Also, on Monday, August 2nd, 2021, the summer celebration at Transit Valley Country Club is back for golf, lunch, and dinner. For more information or to be a sponsor, please contact Tom Lansing. We continue to evaluate all events on a week-by-week basis based on the status of the pandemic. Our most important priority is to keep everyone as safe as possible. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to Rabbi Alex, Cantor Frank, Bruce Corris, or myself. We really are here for you. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and if you are able, please stay on this Zoom for an Oneg Shabbat.
Thank you, Joanne. And we are nearing the end of the service, which went a lot quicker when we don't have people coming up and down to get to the microphone and get to the bima. But we do have one more woman to tell you about, and then we'll end with Motzi so we can enjoy our Shabbat boxes.
Emma Lazarus, most famous for her poem, The New Colossus, now engraved on a plaque at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Emma Lazarus was one of the most successful and highly visible Jewish American authors. Lazarus was born on July 22nd, 1849, to an upper-class Sephardic Jewish family in New York City. Her father supported her education and encouraged her writing. When she was 17, her father privately published a book of her poems. Lazarus used her poems and essays to speak out against the persecution of Jews in Europe and the growing anti-Semitism in the United States and abroad. She also wrote in Jewish publications to argue for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. In addition to writing, Lazarus volunteered at the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society and visited Russian refugees living in poor conditions in New York City. She also helped establish the Hebrew Technical Institute in New York to provide Jewish immigrants with vocational training. And in 1883, she formed the Society for the Improvement and Colonization of Eastern European Jews. Over a century after her death in 1887, Lazarus's legacy lives on. New Colossus continues to inspire advocates of immigrants' rights and freedom.
We meant to add a picture there that we forgot, but we're at Motzi. I want to thank everybody who read and participated and sang and helped with the service tonight, and everybody else who attended and gave us your attention. And Marina's going to lead us in Motzi.
I even found a challah that I made a few months ago in the freezer. So it'll probably be dry for my family, but anyway. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you, everybody. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Not bad.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. It was a great service. I loved it.
Shabbat shalom.
Great job, Jill, too. Great job.
Great job,
Really
Jill.
good.
Very nice.
And Elaine.
I am not, Terry, I am not related to Emma Lazarus. I wish I would have been invited to the statue. I could have gone to the Statue of Liberty when they rededicated it in the 80s, but I was not related.
That would have been a fun song to sing. Retired report.
Thank you.
But Betty Friedan, her daughter's in our congregation.
Yeah,
I had a granddaughter in kindergarten.
Yeah,
I remember attending her granddaughter's bat mitzvah when we first merged.
She has a wonderful voice, the granddaughter.
Yeah.
And Betty Friedan has been pictured in a number of TV productions the last year. So it's been kind of interesting to see. I feel connected to it, although they're not always the nicest portrayal.
Great. Yeah, my son went to Hebrew school with Emily's son, David. So I guess the older brother of the student that Linda had.
I have a very important question. Does anyone know if the biscotti has dairy in it?
Maybe I can find out. I'll ask Vanessa now.
Thank you.
If I can get her. Okay, I'll let you know as soon as I.
And I have an even more important question. We have the 100th anniversary of Judith Eisenstein's first bat mitzvah coming up next March. What is the women of Shir Shalom doing?
Oh.
We should
Wait a minute. They've got time to think about it.
Celebrating. What do you think we'll be doing? Right?
Well, it took us almost 2 years to put this together, but that's because we had a couple of intervening events.
Couple of glitches, right? Minor things.
Yeah.
Right?
I also see we have one of our newer members, participants, Joella, here. So really good to see you. So glad you came.
Hello, Rabbi.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And Rabbi Alex? Rabbi Alex?
Yes, did you have a question?
I just wanted to let everybody know that on Monday, Becca is going to do her Court of Honor for Eagle Scout.
Oh, how nice.
Oh, is that
Mistletoe.
Eddie there? Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, so proud of her. That's great.
Yes, they ended up having about 900 to 1,000 girls in the first class.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, they had to get everything done in a little under 2 years.
Amazing during the pandemic. It's incredible. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you could join
Eddie.
us from California.
Eddie, how old is she now?
She turned 18 on May 5th.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
How did that happen?
yeah.
They were.
No,
remember-
and yeah, she does her ceremony at Banchetti's.
Oh, mazel tov.
Virtually? She'll do it virtually or?
No, we're in a hotel.
Oh.
Oh, you're here. Wow.
Wow. How nice.
What did she do for her project?
She went ahead and did a bunch of cubby holes for the SPCA so that they could have a place for kids to put their backpacks when it was raining and everything, and they roll and everything.
Wow. Awesome. Gee, that's wonderful.
Good skill to have. All your kids do woodworking. That's amazing.
Jill, your answer is coming. It's the question just got sent to Texas. So as soon as I get the answer back, I will let you know.
Thank you, Julia.
Okay.
You want to go or you want us to hang out? Done?
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat 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 shalom.
Great job, Jill.
Thank you.
Was wonderful. Thank you for all that work, Jill and Elaine.
And
It was-
Elaine too, yeah.
It was fun. It was fun to do.
Hi, Nina.
And we have lots more women we can send out stuff about if people want to see them.
I was
Good
going to
to
ask.
see everybody.
I was going to ask. How did you select the women? How did you come to select the women?
Well, we decided to do mostly American women just to
Right.
focus it a little. And it happened that we started working on it during Women's History Month. So we were getting all these different emails and stuff about Jewish women, famous Jewish women. And we just kind of went through, and there was one list we found that had like 100 people on it, and picked out here and there ones that sounded interesting to us. And then we each did 4 of them.
Oh my God! Did you each do your own research on the women that you selected?
Yeah.
Well, Jill and I divided up the 8 women. And she did 4,
very nice.
the research on 4, and I did the research.
Oh, wow.
And then my
Very
daughter
nice.
helped me edit mine down because some of them were way too long and detailed.
Yeah.
It was
There's
really
a lot of
interesting.
information out there about Jewish
was.
women.
I know. Yeah, I mean, even there were some interesting suffragists that were Jewish. I'm sure you read about them in Hadassah magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were interesting too.
And it wasn't just those 8 women that Jill and Elaine researched, because every week they've been writing up a story of another one. So
Yes.
altogether, you've researched probably
I thought you
double
could-
that number.
I
Yeah.
thought you were going to discuss all those women. so I
Gilda
guess we
Radner
haven't
this
time.
week. Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You know what? You could do a calendar with a different woman each month.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And we had all those great pictures we used that I didn't realize when I put the slides together would only be there for a second, because we had to flip to where the words were so people could read.
Yeah. It's good.
It was beautiful, really
Mhm.
beautiful.
It was wonderful.
Well, if you
I
want
thought,
more,
I didn't even feel the length of the service. I didn't even realize it went over or anything like that, because I was so engaged in listening and learning. And before you knew it, it was like, 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I wow, where the time goes. It's just so engaging.
Thank you. Yeah, it actually, as
I
I
thought
said,
it seemed short too, and then I realized it was the same. That I had the same thing happen for me. It was so interesting. Yeah.
I realized it did go faster than I expected it to, but we didn't have all of the people transitioning up to the Bima and stuff like that.
Yeah, it saves time.
Yeah, but you really didn't have any technical glitches either.
Yeah, it went really smoothly.
At
Great
this point,
job, Jill.
At this point, we're all Zoom experts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes. Yeah.
And
Jill, I may
whatever,
have to, I was going to say, I may have to just text you later about the dairy because,
okay,
because she's not looking at her phone.
that's all right. I
I'm
should let my
just gonna
husband have
ask
the
about-
flour cookie though.
Now we're doing 7 o'clock tonight, but isn't Park and Pray usually earlier?
It's 6.
It's actually going to be at 7 for the month of June.
Oh, it will be great.
Oh, the day's getting longer.
Oh, that really
There was
helps, Joanne.
concern that it may be too hot in the parking lot at 6.
Oh, I'm
Although it is Buffalo, but it's at 7 for the month of June.
Oh, wonderful.
That way.
Jenny, we missed having you participate. You're always one of the readers.
I guess I try, yeah.
Yeah, next year. We'll be
year.
expecting you next year.
We'll
You're
see.
back in the building.
Yes. I always say we'll see.
That's good.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Jenny.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Thank you, Linda.
Shabbat shalom, Linda.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.
I think I am too. My son and daughter-in-law are visiting, so we go.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Have a
Yeah.
nice weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
So glad I tuned in. It was wonderful.
I
Thank
think
you.
Yeah, thank you.
they're wonderful.
Replay.
Those packets are so cute. Who
What?
made the boxes?
The boxes.
Well, Sheila found the actual box itself online, and then Marina and Elaine, Maureen, Sheila, Sharon Krebs, and I put them together. But the baked goods came from Linda Bergman's daughter, Sarah. She made the flour cookie. And then Vanessa Meyer's sister-in-law, who lives in Texas, made the biscotti and the chocolate